Hello, my name is Kim Davenport, and I am the Communications Manager for Tacoma Historical Society. And with me today is Dr. Anna Jensen of the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association. Welcome, Anna. It's great to talk with you.
Thank you so much. It's great
Yeah,
to be here.
yeah. So can you start us off by talking about how you got involved with the Youth Symphony and what your role is there now?
Sure. Yeah, I've been part of Tacoma Youth Symphony for a few decades now. I started out in 1999 as a coach at Evergreen Music Festival. And then from there, I became a season coach. And then when I moved back to Washington from Michigan, I started as their education specialist. And then I got to be the camp manager. And then after about 15 years doing that, I'm now the executive director.
And congratulations on that new role. That's really exciting.
Thank you. So happy
Yeah.
to be in that position.
Yeah, so you happen to be in that position while the organization is about to celebrate its 60th anniversary season, which is very exciting. So it's a long history of both music making and also, community building and education in Tacoma. I'm curious, what are some things you've learned about? I mean, you've obviously been a part of a lot of that history, but from the decades before that, what are some things you've learned about the organization's history as a result of getting ready to celebrate?
Absolutely. Yeah, some of my favorite stories that I've heard are the very beginnings of the Youth Symphony, where it sounded like a bunch of moms kind of rolling in here in the 60s, and they're loading cars up with instruments and music and bringing kids from all over together. So I always love hearing about that, those opening years where we just had the one orchestra. Today, we've grown into 5 different groups, and we've expanded our region. So we're very much so the Tacoma group, but we bring in students as far away right now from Ellensburg and even Port Townsend. One year, we had somebody driving all the way over from Walla Walla to be part of it. And so that growth and expansion is so much fun to think about. I also love hearing from some of my colleagues in symphony. We're about a decade older than me, and hearing about those trips that were so momentous that they went on in the 70s and 80s. And so that rich history there and enrichment of having that global experience is really, really neat to hear about as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really just delightful for me to get to delve into all those stories with you this past few months. I'm curious, why do you think it's important? I mean, I know you're passionate about this work because otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. But why do you think it's important, first of all, for a community like Tacoma to have an organization like this, but also that it has such a long and deep history in the community?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that Tacoma Youth Symphony, one of the most unique things about the organization, it's really rooted in the community and making music accessible for all. In some youth organizations, they're cut. And so, there isn't a space for everyone. And then also there's a really competitive aspect. And so I think here in this community, and particularly for Tacoma, where it's like creating a space where music is welcome for all. And so when we invite a student in, we find a level that works for them. And then also financially, if they don't have the financial means to do that, we find a place for them and we support that. And so I think, creating that music atmosphere where there's something for everyone is really, really a tremendous impact that we've been able to have on the region. And then I think also where the students, they work together so closely as a team and the culture of the organization that essentially, it's like we're competing against ourselves together. And so always trying to do better and grow as opposed to, us having to, push our peers aside or step on them to get to the top. We're all going to the top together. And so I think that's really one thing that we focus on here. And recently, one of the things we've been saying is, together we create one sound. Everybody's important. And so, and having that place for everyone is something that we really cherish. And you see that carry it all the way over the years, where if they didn't have a space for someone, then we created a new space for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that really is a great way to think about the story of the organization. It's just
Mhm.
sort of constant growth as a way of making room for more and more learning and
Absolutely.
more and more children to become involved. So tell me and tell anyone watching, what do you have planned to celebrate this 60th anniversary season, and how can people get involved in that?
We are so excited about our 60th. We've got some great plans. The Board of Trustees, Dr. Cobbs, our music director, myself, we've been working on some really great musical moments of impact. Two of those being we're returning to the Pantages Theater this year. So for any Tacoma music history buffs out there, we know how important that Pantages Theater is and with the renovation. So all of our students will be performing on the Pantages Theater stage on October 29th for our costume concert. So I'd invite everybody to come join us. It's music from the movies. And so we'll have Star Wars and Shrek, and I'm pretty sure Frozen and Pirates and all that good stuff. So you can dress up if you like, or you can just show up and enjoy. But all the students will get to perform in the Pantages Theater. And then, of course, we'll have our regular concerts throughout the year. This spring, we'll have a trivia night at the Yacht Club, and that will be a big fundraiser for our 60th anniversary. And what that does is that supports us for the next 60 years and gets our scholarship fund going. And then finally, we're going to finish out the year with two different things. One of them on May 6th, we'll have another Pantages concert, and that will be the official celebration. All groups perform again, and that's really the happy birthday TYSA moment. And then the final concert of the year will feature Tacoma Youth Symphony with Dr. Paul Cobbs. And we're commissioning a work by alumni Molly Turner. So a brand new piece that will be premiered to celebrate and commemorate this really special time.
That's really exciting. Yeah.
Yes, we are so excited.
So in addition to coming to events, are there any other ways that people can get involved that you'd like to talk about?
Absolutely. Yes, we actually have quite a few things happening and things that we've added in for young people. We now have the Tacoma Young Violin Program, TYVP. So if you've got a little one that's never played violin before, they can do that. We've also started this awesome program, Tacoma Community Ukulele Project, Teacup. And so with that, we've been at the Eastside Community Center, and then we just did some classes with ukuleles at Frank Toby Jones with senior citizens as part of Senior University. So those are some great opportunities for young ones and seniors. Anyone who's age 7 through 21, of course, can come and audition and be part of the orchestras. And then for our community members, we love it when you come to our concerts and support us. And there's lots of different ways to support us, whether coming out and cheering on the kids or, making a donation or sponsoring a concert. There's so many ways, and we welcome anyone to reach out. We'd love for you to be part of our TYSA family.
Great. Thank you so much. I mean, it's such a, as an organization with Tacoma Historical Society that's interested in celebrating everything that is Tacoma history, it's really great to get a chance to see such a rich history from another organization that's involved in the Tacoma community, and we're just here to help you celebrate that this year. So let me know if there's anything else we can do as the year goes on. But it's really been delightful for me personally to get a chance to explore your history and now to get to share it. So
yes. Yeah. And up on our new website, that's part of our 60th as well. We've launched a new logo and a new website. And then we're so thankful to Kim for joining us. And we now have a nice extensive history with photos, and we're trying to get everything archived. So also, if there's people out there, alumni, and you have pictures, we would love to see them and share them with everyone as well.
Yeah, great. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over now to this chance for people to really explore the history in depth. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and good luck with the 60th season.
Thank you, Kim. It's been great to be here.
In the summer of 1963, the Tacoma Arts for Youth Council, an arts advocacy organization comprised of community volunteers, offered a summer string orchestra program at Pacific Lutheran University. The 28 students who participated fell in love with the experience and asked if the ensemble could continue during the school year. Virginia Morrison, a member of the council, was determined to keep such an opportunity available for Tacoma youth. Mrs. Morrison was born in Tacoma in 1919, and as a student at Lincoln High School, played clarinet in the marching band, orchestra, operettas, and musicals. Those experiences clearly impacted her as she went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts in Music and a conservatory diploma in music teaching from Whitman College. It was always her dream to start a youth symphony, and having her own children only strengthened that desire. She persuaded a conductor she knew, Dr. Paul Onkley, to volunteer his Saturday mornings for the following school year to rehearse with the new Tacoma Youth Symphony. Rehearsals were held in the University of Puget Sound Music Building, and concerts were held at PLU's Eastfold Auditorium and other local schools. The Tacoma Youth Symphony was born. Mrs. Morrison led the fledgling organization for more than a decade, overseeing significant growth as well as 2 international tours. Virginia and her husband, Judge E. Albert Morrison, would go on to support the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association for the rest of their lives. The couple had 4 children, 3 of whom participated in the Tacoma Youth Symphony. Virginia joked that the Youth Symphony was her 5th child. With such origins, it should come as no surprise that the organization has cultivated a family-like atmosphere. That atmosphere has thrived despite TYSA's dramatic growth and change in the decades which followed. After Paul Onkley's initial turn at the podium from 1963 to 65, the Tacoma Youth Symphony has since been led by a series of illustrious conductor educators: C. Irvin Wright, Stanley Chappell, Steve Amundsen, Harry Davidson, and Dr. Paul Elliott Cobbs. Just a few years into the organization's existence, Tacoma Youth Symphony became an internationally recognized ensemble when, in 1970, the orchestra traveled to Switzerland to participate in the International Festival of Youth Orchestras. The orchestra participated in the same festival again in 1975 when it took place in Scotland. At both festivals, Tacoma Youth Symphony took top honors. A dramatic accomplishment for such a young organization, these early experiences also set the stage for more touring in the decades to come. The orchestra visited Europe again in 1983, with 100 musicians and chaperones spending 25 days performing and exploring in England, Holland, France, Switzerland, and Austria. In 1964, the Tacoma Junior Symphony was formed as a training orchestra for the Tacoma Youth Symphony. For its first several years, it was a full symphony orchestra made up of a wide range of ages and abilities. As other new ensembles were developed in the years to come, the Junior Symphony gradually narrowed in focus, becoming an ensemble intended for middle and high school age students. As this program from 1971 demonstrates, the Youth Symphony and Junior Symphony would often share a stage in performances, which took place at a variety of local schools. The Junior Symphony has been conducted by John Howard Walters, Alan Wilkie, Dale Johnson, Dr. Paul Elliott Cobbs, and Joe Divig. In 1982, the Tacoma Little Symphony debuted as a training ground for elementary and middle school string players. Later renamed the Tacoma String Symphony, it remains the starting point for many of the string players in the TYSA family. During Harry Davidson's tenure as youth symphony conductor, Kristen Turner worked with the young string players for the first part of the rehearsal, and then Mr. Davidson would rehearse students for the last half hour. Carla Epperson took over the leadership of TSS in 1997, and it is currently directed by Karen Helseth. In 1985, educator Rex Turner created the Symphonic Winds Training Program, or SWAT, giving woodwind, brass, and percussion students an opportunity for specialized coaching that paralleled the string-specific ensembles. Mr. Turner led SWAT until 2000, followed by Dr. Elizabeth Patterson, Dave and Tracy Kripe, John M. Wetherington, and Elizabeth Ward. The Tacoma Youth Wind Sinfonia, conducted by David and Tracy Kripe, served as a younger version of SWAT from 1999 to 2002. By 1985, with substantial growth in both numbers and reputation, it was decided that the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association should have a second full symphony orchestra. This orchestra would be considered a performing group, as opposed to the training ensembles mentioned earlier, and would perform 3 concerts a year. The Tacoma Young Artists Orchestra was created with Dale Johnson as its conductor. Mr. Johnson has remained with the Tacoma Young Artist Orchestra throughout its history. The ensemble has performed alongside the Tacoma Youth Symphony during seasonal concerts, as well as joined the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association's touring orchestra. In addition to his leadership of the Tacoma Young Artists Orchestra, Mr. Johnson was instrumental in the establishment of two other important programs: the String Orchestra Festival for middle and junior high school students, which was founded in 1982, and the Evergreen Music Festival, founded in 1984, both of which continue to this day. The String Orchestra Festival provides a non-competitive environment for 1,250 middle and junior high school musicians to perform, as well as listen and learn. Coming from throughout the Puget Sound area, full school orchestras meet at the Evergreen State College in Olympia, perform for one another, and listen to the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association's chamber musicians. A month prior to the festival, school orchestras are provided with festival music to learn. In the huge festival orchestra setting under renowned maestros, they join together to perform these works. The Evergreen Music Festival also originated at the Evergreen State College in Olympia. It is comprised of two sessions, Session 1 for younger students and Session 2 for high school students. Both sessions offer students large ensemble opportunities, theory classes, small group instruction from experienced teachers, and a chance to meet other kids who are passionate about music. Session 2 also offers chamber music, choir, and performance opportunities. In keeping with the Tacoma Youth Symphony's tradition of partnering with a variety of local educational institutions, the most recent festival was held on the campuses of Pacific Lutheran University and the University of Puget Sound. The most recent standing ensemble to be formed within the TYSA organization is the Tacoma String Philharmonic. Established in 1997, it was originally created for slightly older beginning and intermediate string players. It provides a second step for young string players after the Tacoma String Symphony. The founding conductor was Carla Epperson, and the group is now led by Dr. Anna Jensen. In addition to these ensembles, which provide a continuity of education and performance experience for youth aged 6 through 21, the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association has also sponsored a variety of smaller ensembles and educational programs over its 60-year history. For example, TYSA conductors and coaches have led a variety of instrument-specific ensembles. These include the Tacoma Youth Brass Ensemble, directed by Elizabeth Ward, the Tacoma Youth Percussion Ensemble, directed by Jeff Lund, and the South Sound Strings Harp Ensemble, directed by Patricia Wooster. In more recent years, TYSA has partnered with the Hammond-Ashley Double Bass Workshop to offer educational opportunities for students and teachers alike. The Tacoma Young Violin program is for young people ages 6 through 10 who wish to explore and discover the violin. Students learn beginning violin skills, note reading, rhythmic foundations, how to play together in a group, all while also making new friends. In the summer of 2022, Tacoma Youth Symphony conductor Paul Elliott Cobbs introduced the first ever Symphonic Jazz Workshop, open to students from 8th grade through age 21. In addition to these specific programs, the organization has, throughout its history, offered educational concerts and school visits as a means of outreach to music students and music educators throughout the Tacoma area, expanding beyond the hundreds of students actively participating in TYSA ensembles to make a larger educational impact. A generation after the orchestra first toured Europe in the 1970s and early 1980s, the ensemble has made several trips in the 21st century as well. In 2000, the Tacoma Youth Symphony was chosen to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City after a rigorous application process. The orchestra received and accepted an invitation to perform there again in 2005. Selected members of the Tacoma Youth Symphony and Tacoma Young Artist Orchestra embarked on this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Following city tours, rehearsals, and master classes with Juilliard teachers, These young musicians performed Copland's Tenderland Suite and Stravinsky's Firebird to a full house. They received an immediate standing ovation from the savvy New York audience, as well as 4 curtain calls. Just a few years later, in April 2008, the Tacoma Youth Symphony performed in the National Festival of the States held in Washington, D.C. Performing groups were selected based on recommendations from state and national music educators, governors, senators, congressional representatives, and by audition, and selected participants from the Tacoma Youth Symphony and Tacoma Young Artists Orchestra traveled to our nation's capital to perform in 3 concerts. Most recently, selected members of the Tacoma Youth Symphony and the Tacoma Young Artists Orchestra performed in the renowned Boston Symphony Hall in May 2013. This memorable experience was dedicated to the resiliency of the citizens of Boston following the marathon bombing. In addition to the opportunity to perform, a wonderful educational opportunity was provided through tours of historic monuments, parks, and museums in Concord, Lexington, Salem, and Boston. In addition to the skilled leadership of ensembles by their conductors and the countless hours provided to students by coaches, the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association has benefited from the guidance and leadership of those who have held the position of executive director. Following Virginia Morrison's work to establish the organization and guide it through its first growth as a volunteer leader, Shirley Getson became the first paid staff member in 1976, serving as executive director until 1997. As explored earlier, these 2 decades saw enormous growth and expansion of the organization, successes that would not have been possible without her steady hand at the helm. Dr. Loma Cobbs then led the organization for nearly 3 decades, serving as executive director from 1997 through 2021. Upon her retirement, she was recognized for her remarkable work in leading the organization through good and bad times with tight financial control, steadfast loyalty, high integrity, and a love for the students. In her own words, quote, "We have historically said that we have a family atmosphere, and I think that is genuine. That is a culture we have worked to develop, and that's why the mentor program is so successful. It's like a big sibling helping a younger sibling, and that culture wasn't created by accident. The people that have been selected for various positions, from conductors to executive directors, everyone down to the coaches, everybody, have been very specifically selected because of their attitude. They are thinking about these young people, these little ones, who need some coaxing sometimes or a kick in the butt, but it's a big family. You don't see that in every organization. That's something we can be tremendously proud of." In spite of the challenge of a leadership transition during a pandemic, Dr. Loma Cobbs worked closely with her successor, Dr. Anna Jensen, a performer, conductor, and nonprofit arts administrator who was already part of the TYSA family, and who is now applying her talents and energies to leading the organization forward as the current executive director. The Tacoma Youth Symphony Association has been most fortunate to benefit from such skilled and committed leadership from women who are equally dedicated to musical excellence and educational quality. For an organization to count just 4 leaders in 60 years is a remarkable statement about the continuity of this organization in the Tacoma community. In its first 60 years, Tacoma Youth Symphony Association has grown into an organization that provides not just performance opportunities for talented young musicians, but a fully developed educational program which supports students from 2nd grade through age 21 and beyond. In addition to the opportunity to play within an orchestra under the leadership of skilled conductors and educators, TYSA students learn about music theory and history and have opportunities to step up to roles as leaders, mentors, and coaches. Cellist Sarah Yamamoto, who worked her way from the Tacoma String Symphony to Tacoma Youth Symphony between 2005 and 2012, describes the many ways in which her TYSA experiences shaped her development. Quote, "I played cello and went to EMF every summer, also serving as a cello coach for Session 1 students after I had outgrown that program. I participated in the annual chamber ensemble concert for section leaders, played in the ad hoc string quartet gigs for people requesting ensembles, had the privilege of being a featured performer for concerts, took post-rehearsal music theory classes with Mr. Johnson, and volunteered with administrative tasks in 2011 and 2012. One of my favorite memories was during the first rehearsal of the season with Tacoma Junior Youth Symphony. Dr. Cobbs gave a speech about how up to this point, arrangements were pretty common for our music selections. But starting now, everything we would play would be the exact same notes as the professionals. It felt like a hugely significant threshold crossed. He also impressed upon us that he would treat us like adults as long as we lived up to that expectation. But if we acted like kids, he would treat us like kids. My friends and I had a running list of our favorite Mr. Johnsonisms, and I will forever be impressed by Mrs. Epperson's eternal patience and encouragement. Sectionals, costume concerts, school performances, choir practice at EMF, orchestra parents, and the wonderful personalities of all of my conductors and coaches give me a lot to cherish as I celebrate Tacoma Youth Symphony's 60th anniversary. Violinist and teacher Mary Manning played in Tacoma Youth Symphony ensembles from 1976 to 1983 and speaks about the importance of those experiences for her life and career. Quote, "The environment of being in an orchestra is a community. It's this group of people that are cooperating, and not just that, but creating this incredibly beautiful thing. To experience community like that, it's not easy to come by. Being part of a larger community is huge. It's so important for kids to experience that. Providing a safe, creative, challenging environment for kids is so important. For me, it was also a boost of self-esteem. I became a leader. I didn't naturally have that confidence, so to be put in that position helped me grow into that position. I don't know who I'd be without those experiences." When asked what brought her to the work of leading a youth symphony organization, Dr. Loma Cobbs explains, quote, "The culture that we've been able to maintain and to grow over my 30 years was the most important aspect of it. In public education organizations, it's more difficult to do that sort of a thing. In a private organization, you can set your own rules, you can set your standards, and our standards have always been high, both from the perspective of being a great musician, but also being a great person. Over the years, that's been the major driving force for the Tacoma Youth Symphony Association, is to be able to use that tool, teaching music, to teach so many other things to these growing young people."
This is a Tacoma Historical Society production.